This is RJ. RJ is my initials. People started calling me RJ because there was a team member whose first name shared the same pronunciation as my first name. To differentiate between us, everyone started using my initials because I joined the team later. I began to like it because it's easy to say and remember. In this channel, I will share my recent thoughts and what I have learned recently. Hope it can be beneficial to you. Today, I want to share some of my thoughts on layoffs since they might impact me. Recently, there are so many layoffs happening in tech industry, and I am a software engineer. I cannot help thinking, will I lose my job with so many layoffs? Google made a historical announcement to lay off 12,000 employees on January 20, 2023. This is the first ever layoff in the company's 25-year history. Amazon, the online retail giant founded in 1994, has undergone its largest ever layoffs in its nearly 30-year history. In November 2022, the company announced a layoff of 10,000 employees, which was followed by another round of layoffs, affecting 18,000 people in January 2023. This double round of layoff has never happened in Amazon's history. Despite being the most influential social media company in the world, Meta was forced to make the difficult decision of laying off 11,000 employees. This marked the first time ever in the company's 10-year history. Microsoft has let go 10,000 employees also in January 2023. This is not the first time for Microsoft, but the size is still big. The total number of layoffs in the tech industry is actually much larger than what has been reported from this news about big tech companies. The true impact of these changes is still unfolding. According to TrueUp.io, around 90,000 people have lost their jobs in tech industry in the United States. As a side story, you may have noticed that Twitter has reduced its workforce by 2/3. There was even a bet as to when the Twitter website would have a big downtime because of this. But since then, it has remained stable, which is a testament to the skill and expertise of its engineers in creating a robust system. I actually bet on Twitter to have a big downtime, which can happen within 30 days after its big layoff. Turned out I was wrong. Although I lost my bet as a software engineer, I'm really proud of what we can accomplish. This trend is getting worse in the beginning of 2023. Over 100,000 people have lost their jobs from tech industry. Since February, another 20,000 people have lost their job in this industry, which is quite bad. Let's back to the topic. As a software engineer working for one of these large high-tech companies, I cannot help but ask why these layoffs are happening and when will I lose my job. These layoffs in the high-tech industry are a result of two things: overhiring during the COVID-19 pandemic and the increase in federal interest rates in 2022. During the COVID-19 pandemic, with people forced to stay at home for both work and safety reasons, 5 days remote of work has increased 27% after and during COVID pandemic. Due to safety concern, people prefer to stay home to avoid getting sick. From these timelines, you can see the time spent in home shifted dramatically during COVID-19 period. All these phenomena triggered a significant increase in online activity, and this led to high demand for technology products and services. The high demand for technology products and services during the COVID-19 generated a significant amount of the profit for high-tech companies. These phenomena gave these companies the illusion that the online demand will continue. However, after the COVID pandemic, offline activity has rebounded, but online activity has decreased. These high-tech companies were unable to sustain the growth rate they experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic and realized they had overhired. Let's look at the last 40 years data of federal fund rate, unemployment rate, and inflation. So the blue line is the federal fund rate, red line are unemployment rate, and the orange one is inflation rate. The other factor contributing to the layoff is the Federal Reserve's attempt to keep inflation low by increasing interest rate. From the data, we can observe a significant spike in the unemployment rate to almost 15% in the April 2020. Because of a shelter-in-place, economic activities dropped significantly. This unexpected change led to the highest unemployment rate in the last 40 years. The federal interest rate, which was around 1.5%, quickly decreased to zero in response to the rising unemployment rate. The low interest rate was aimed to stimulate economic activity during COVID period. However, the change in people's activity caused various supply chain disruptions since 2020. The economic activity boost, coupled with the disruption in the supply chain due to COVID, has led to a surge in prices for various goods, such as houses and cars. The combination of these factors has resulted in a historical high of inflation over the last 40 years. The situation has only gotten worse as the outbreak of war between Russia and Ukraine. This resulted in a significant hike in gas prices. The increased gas price further boosted the inflation rate in 2022. Let's take a look at the CPI data in May 2022. There was a significant increase in energy section due to the war. When looking at the price for utility gas service section, it showed about a 2 months delay, but soon this increased energy price reflected on the other goods as well. In June 2022, the inflation rate hit 9.1%, which is the highest in the last 40 years. The Federal Reserve had to take drastic measures to combat inflation by raising the federal interest rate 7 times through 2022. 4 out of 7, the increase was 75 basis points. What I'm trying to understand is when Fed can stop raising the interest rate. I examined the last 40 years data on unemployment rate, federal interest rate, and inflation. As we can see, from 2008, the inflation is usually below 2.5%. That's where the Federal Reserve wanted the inflation to be. The unemployment rate and the interest rate usually goes to the opposite way. When the unemployment rate going up, Fed reduces the interest rate. When the unemployment rate stays low, Fed might increase interest rate. In the last 40 years, the unemployment rate usually stays between 4 to 6%. But now, the unemployment rate is around 3.5%. No wonder Fed want to increase the interest rate. There is still much work to be done by the Federal Reserve to regain control over inflation to under 2%. As a software engineer working for Fed, I share the concern on when will I lose my job. But I also would like to figure out what can I do to protect my financial situation in this environment with a lot of uncertainty. As a software engineer, despite being highly paid, I have come to realize that I don't have financial security. I could be let go when my company needs to cut costs, regardless of how hard I worked on all the projects. I have even heard from a friend at Google that layoffs can even happen to top performers. So when hard work cannot give you or anyone job security and financial security, what can? These layoffs have forced me to deeply consider my next step. At the moment, I don't have an answer.